everybody. So we are so excited today to bring you our latest movie wrap up. This is going from August uh, until October,
Yep.
and we have quite a lot of films to recap. It's going to be pretty crazy. We are probably going to end up breaking this up into two parts. So because it's just so epic. Movies we've seen. And I'm Rachel, and David is here.
Hi, I'm here. I'm exhausted from watching so many movies, but
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. Are you getting close to being movied out?
Kind of am. It's almost a chore. And honestly, like knowing that I do this podcast makes me watch a lot more movies than I probably would have otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. You can if you only want to watch like 30 movies in the winter, we're fine. You don't have
Well,
to.
now I got a standard to upkeep.
I know. Holy
And
cow.
and you know what? Any studios whose movies I didn't watch, you should feel personally offended
Yeah.
because that means I really didn't want to watch your movie. Yes, I'm looking at you, Mile 22.
Yeah. And I would have a similarly insane list as David, but I have to watch every Hallmark movie.
Right.
And so not quite as good, but I still watched quite a few. Still managed to squeeze them in there. So it's pretty fun. And I really appreciate you watching all of these. And so it'll be a lot of fun. So let's just dive in because we seriously have, I think, like 80 movies to talk about. So it's pretty fun. So, all right, we're starting on the 3rd of August. We have Disney's Christopher Robin. And I did a whole podcast on this movie with my friend Conrado that you all should check out. It was really fun where we talked about the remakes in general. And then we talked about Christopher Robin. And I wasn't a big fan of this. I had actually pretty high expectations. I really liked the trailer, but I thought that they made a lot of really dumb choices that annoyed me. That they have this classic story you've seen a million times of the workaholic kind of dad, but like it didn't really make sense because he was doing this working in order to save all these people's job, and this is supposed to be something that we feel resentful about. There's something that that he needs to change, but he was a good person. This was a good thing that he did. He should have worked. Like, it was weird. And I thought that I didn't like the way that because in the original movie, Pooh Christopher asks Pooh to always remember him, right? Never forget him. And so that makes sense. In this one, it's Pooh asking Christopher to never forget him. And then he proceeds to forget about him. And that is so, like, Pooh and company, who are sentient beings in this world, it's not like just part of Christopher's imagination. Other people see them. And so they're in this world, and they're like in this weird limbo, just waiting for Christopher, which was weird. And I don't know, I just didn't think it had whimsy to me. There was one scene that I thought really worked in the train station with Pooh and his balloon. That was super cute. Loved that. And I don't know, I just didn't have the whimsy and the heart that I wanted in this movie. And so I ended up feeling pretty disappointed about it. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, I see where you're coming from. I mean, it felt like a rehashing of many movies we've
Yeah.
seen. Like, I mean, Peter Rabbit is one that it felt similar to plot-wise. Also, of course, we just saw Goodbye, Christopher Robin. So it didn't feel super original, even though it was its own take. But I mean, I still appreciate it to a degree. There were some like pretty ridiculous things, like you said, this whole thing of, oh my gosh, the working dad, how dare he neglect his family? Like, it's a trope we've seen too much in movies, and the way they
Yeah.
concluded that plot was just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. This is quite the solution that they came up with
Yeah.
let's just give everyone more vacation so then they have to buy luggage. So then if they had to buy luggage, then they like it was like, wow, oh they
Yeah, I couldn't believe that that was the way they like. Wasn't there anybody working on the script or reading the script that's like, wait a
yeah.
second, we can come up with something better?
The big mistake that they made is not having the little girl, I think her name is Madeline, not having her be the main character, the one who
Yeah,
finds Christopher and Winnie the Pooh and the one who finds Winnie the Pooh and everything. That makes way more sense because she's going to have to be going off to the school. She's not feeling good about it, and she's a little bit distant from her dad who's working all
mm,
this thing. Have her find the characters, have her find Whimsy, be happy, made happy by Pooh. That just boom, you got the movie. So
yeah.
that would have
I
made
mean,
way more sense.
right. With that said, I did enjoy it enough, and I really liked Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh was the best part of the movie for me personally.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, I do agree that, and the voice acting was phenomenal. And they, when they allowed them to sort of have that old fashioned quality, and I did like it. I thought the aesthetics were nice. I liked,
yeah,
and you get Richard Sherman with a new song at the end, which was for Disney fans. That was really fun.
mm.
Playing a new, because he wrote the original, you know, songs for Winnie the Pooh, so that was sort of fun.
I ranked it number 73 out of 164.
Okay, good. I have seen 121 movies this year, just feature films, and I have it at 88.
Okay.
Okay, then on the 3rd of August, we had Never Gone Back. I don't even remember this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how big of a release it got. It was in our art house
Uh-huh.
theater. It's kind of a raunchy comedy about these two teenage girls that are kind of deadbeats, like potheads, and trying not to get fired from their job. But most of it takes place during one night. It's like a comedy of errors, basically. I didn't have very high expectations going into it, but it made me laugh quite a bit. I mean, a lot of the humor's pretty lowbrow, a lot of like poop and vomit humor, but like looking past that, it had a lot of heart to it, and yeah, I thought it was really funny. One of my friends came with me, and he loved it. He's talked about it a lot since then. So it's not for everybody. It's not for Rachel probably, but I think
Yeah,
some of your viewers might enjoy it.
cool.
This one, I've actually got pretty high on my rankings. I ranked it number 38 out of 164. So, yeah, I enjoyed it way more than I expected.
Hmm. What would you, Joe? What would you compare it to?
That's a good question. What would I compare it to? It's it's kind of hard to find a good comparison because it's this type of comedy. It's usually like male leads. So I'm trying to think of like female leads that I mean, almost like it's almost like in the same vein as Blockers, which just came out this year. Um, but definitely it has, I think it has more wit to it than Blockers did. I wasn't huge on Blockers. Um, and one of the leads, I've seen her in quite a few things lately. Gosh, I can't remember her name. She was in, um, shoot, that movie with Timothy Chalamet I watched over the summer, Hot Summer Nights, I think it was called.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah, she's in a couple other things I've seen recently, but I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, she might be going places. I guess we'll see.
cool. That sounds good. So where would you rank? Where do you rank this?
Yeah, I put this at 38,
Oh, cool.
so
Good.
pretty high.
Nice. Okay, and then you saw The Darkest Minds.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I was kind of nervous about this movie because it looked kind of like a low budget young adult movie that we didn't really need, and that's exactly what it was. It was kind of a bore for most of the movie. It took a while to get anywhere. I don't know what's this obsession with young adult movies where people are divided up into factions for whatever reason. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a common thing that we're seeing, and this is based on like their colors, like in their eyes or something. I don't know. It was hard to stay awake for this one. Um, yeah, and I mean they really set it up to go directly to a sequel, but I can't imagine that it's gonna have a sequel because it really underperformed.
Yeah. It looked super boring.
Mhm.
It did not look like it was for me. I don't know. I just, yeah, it did look like those movies are just so out of favor.
Yeah, it's true. I ranked it pretty low. It's in my bottom 10 for the year. I put it at 156.
Mm. It's too bad because the actress is good.
She
Delita.
is, but I think she redeemed herself, not to spoil a future movie that we'll talk about, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think she's been good in everything I've seen her
mhm.
in. So
Yeah. And she really wasn't bad in this movie. Like I don't blame her at all for the movie not being great.
cool. Okay. Uh, so next we have the Miseducation of Cameron Post. This was also on the 3rd of August, and yeah. So this movie is a really good movie. It's about this girl who gets sent to this school for to it's like a gay conversion therapy a school. This is in the 90s, and it has it's this horrible thing. It stars Chloe Grace Moretz and Sasha Lane, and yeah, what did you think about this one?
I like this. We're getting another movie like this coming up, Boy Erased, and that's the movie I've been hearing about more this year. So this kind of was under the radar for me, and I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually really enjoyed it. It had more humor than I think Boy Erased is going to have, um, and I think it didn't go down predictable paths necessarily. I like the character developments. I like that they didn't shoehorn certain relationships in where you might have expected it. Yeah, it was just a
Mm-hmm.
good kind of indie type movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it as well. I thought that it was had some really powerful moments, and I thought
Oh
the
yeah.
acting was really strong. And it's certainly something sobering, especially as a person of faith. Like, we have to kind of deal with that this happened,
Hmm.
and and it's good to learn about it, and be aware of
Right.
it. And so I liked it. My only flaw, I guess, I'd have with it is I felt that she was almost a little too stoic sometimes for what was happening, and
Hmm.
I would have liked a little bit more emotion from her character. And I have a feeling that it's a great book and it's just a good movie. I don't know. I just have a feeling that the book is probably amazing, but who knows? I haven't read it, but that was just kind of because I wanted to get a little bit more into her character sometimes.
No, that's fair. I mean, I do think that they were trying to make her that character for a reason, so it didn't bother me as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I put it at number 42 for the year, so it's
Yeah,
pretty high for me.
yeah, I have it at 39, so we're
Hmm.
pretty
Yeah.
close. Pretty close on it. So, okay, then we had on the 3rd, The Spy Who Dumped Me, and this movie, it does have some good things about it. I thought the action was pretty good. I thought the leads were pretty good. They were trying, but it was just so tonally off for me. It was so brutally violent, and that I was not expecting it to be that violent. And I thought it really took me out of the movie sometimes, because it's supposed to be. I wish it had been more slapsticky and funnier. I mean, you have Kate McKinnon just stretching for these jokes and trying to get as many jokes as they could, and then you'd have this pretty brutal scenes, I thought, and then also like very, very, very strong on the R-rated content, which is fine, but I didn't think that if it just sort of, I thought it hurt the tone to me, and it would have been funnier if it maybe didn't have such strong R-rated content for me. And I don't know, I didn't really like it, and so I have it at 95.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I'm glad you went first in talking about this because I realize I don't really remember much about this movie. So I'm just
Yeah.
slowly trying to piece together everything that happened. I do remember leaving the theater having laughed quite a bit. Not as much as a lot of other comedies, but I did enjoy it enough.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I did feel that same sort of thing about, especially Kate McKinnon coming off as kind of desperate with her humor. And I think that might be because maybe I think these studios are letting their actors and actresses like ad lib a bit if they're like established in comedies. Um, so I think that might have been part of the problem, that it didn't seem like she had a grounded script to go off of. But I did enjoy it from what I remember.
Hmm.
I've seen 60 movies since then, but
Yeah,
um, yeah, I liked it enough. I think there were some twists that I didn't necessarily expect.
I
So
can see that. So what'd you rank it?
I put this at 50 for the year.
There we go. Good. Okay. So then on the 8th, there was a film released that I saw at Sundance that I wanted to talk about, that's called Butterflies. And this is a comedy that like I said, I saw it at Sundance. This is a Turkish comedy that it was so funny. I was just dying laughing. For me, I thought it was hilarious. They have this it's a dark comedy, which normally those aren't my jam, but it was about these siblings that are brought together because of the death of their father, and they have to go, and it's like part road trip, and then they arrive and they have there's a particular joke that every time it happened, and they play it a lot, so I can picture some people being like, okay, we get it, it's not funny, but for me, whenever it happened, I died laughing because chickens these chickens eat this gunpowder. They just will randomly throughout the movie explode from the gunpowder, which is ridiculous and I don't think realistic at all. But for whatever reason, every time it happened, I was just in stitches laughing. And there would be like chicken guts and like feathers everywhere. Like, oh no, the chickens are exploding. And I thought it was aside from the chickens exploding, I thought it was pretty funny. There's this really crazy pastor, minister, whatever, that uh, and there's a lot of disagreement about when to have the funeral and how to do it, and these siblings that have been very estranged. And if you can find it, check it out. I really enjoyed it. So, and then also on the 8th, and my ranking for Butterflies is I have it at uh, I have it at 37. So then on the 8th we have Dog Days, and normally I've not been a big fan of these ensemble Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve kind of movies, the Gary Marshall ones, and this is all about people and their dogs. But I have to say, this one I actually really enjoyed. I thought it was very sweet. I thought it was romantic, and I just thought it was really sweet. I liked all of the performances, and I just enjoyed it a lot more than I
That
thought I
kind of
would.
surprises me.
I
I didn't
know.
think it looked very good.
I mean, I guess you just kind of have to. I would say approach this from this movie appeals to the Hallmark side of me.
Okay.
It's romantic, it's cheesy, it's very sweet, it has a good heart. The dogs are so cute, and so it's not like it's the greatest acting or the greatest, but I just thought it was really sweet and heartfelt, and I enjoyed it. And so I have it at 38 in my ranking. I I liked it way more than I thought I was going to, but
Well,
it
good.
appeals to that cheesy movie side of me, I guess. So then on the 10th of August, you saw A Prayer Before Dawn. I haven't heard of that one, I don't think.
Yeah, A Prayer Before Dawn. I first saw the trailer at our one of our theaters like almost a year ago. Um, it's about a boxer who lives in, oh gosh, somewhere in an Asian country. I can't remember which one, but he ends up getting arrested, and he basically is treated really poorly by prison guards, other prisoners,
Mm-hmm.
while he's in prison. It reminds me a lot of a movie I saw back in the '90s, Broke Down Palace. I don't know if you saw
Oh
that.
yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. It's it's a pretty heavy drama. There's hardly any levity to it, and it's based on a true story. So really, it's violent. It's slow at parts, but it was technically good. So I can appreciate it for that, and critics seem to really enjoy it as well. It's just one of those movies that's kind of hard to watch, and I can't imagine ever wanting to watch again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so while I can appreciate it, I didn't personally love it. I didn't have a great experience watching it. Um, and I can have that experience with heavy dramas, but I didn't quite connect with it how I wanted to. So I would rank this movie 116, but that's just based on my personal favorites.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, then we had Black Klansman. This is a Spike Lee film, and
It's
I
a Spike Lee joint.
Spike Lee joint. Sorry. And it's based on the true story, and there's been some pushback on it from people that say he didn't portray it right or accurately or whatever. I don't care about that. I thought that it was really, really good. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was surprisingly funny. I thought that it it was emotional, and I thought that it I don't know. I just really liked all the performances, and the script I thought was really good. I think that there are times when Spike Lee his I think that he can be, what is the word I want to use? He can get in the way of his own movie. Self-indulgent, that's what I'm thinking. He can be a little self-indulgent. I thought some of the heavy-handed, like, we all get it what you're trying to say about modern, things. It's obvious. You don't need to have this thing where you're explaining the metaphor to us or whatever. We understand. We're not stupid. And but there were just a couple other things where I was like, you're letting your own feelings and stuff get in the way of your story. But overall, I enjoyed it. It's actually very high up on my list, so my ranking. So what did you think of it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was slightly disappointed by it. I wanted it to be something groundbreaking, which it really isn't. I mean, it does have a good message. I think I believe his name's John David Washington, Denzel's son.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he had a solid performance. I don't think he's the next Denzel Washington, however.
Yeah.
Um, so I did like the movie, and I feel like we might disagree a bit on like the things that you may see as heavy-handed. Actually, I think one of the most impactful moments of the film was at the very end for me, which I'm assuming you felt differently.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
it was self-indulgent. I think that he had the point had already been made very dramatically within the story, and so to me, it I don't know. I just felt like we're not dumb. Like, we get it. Like, we don't need to have this. So I don't know. For me, that was the downside, but I have it at 19. I really liked the movie.
okay.
I thought Adam Driver was incredible.
Mhm.
I thought he deserves a nomination for it. I thought he was great. I really liked Topher as I mean, as David Duke as a villainous character, but he's like super smooth and super uh super likable in a certain way, which makes
Right.
them like super scary in a way. And I thought he did a really good job. And so all of it, I really did enjoy it. I just thought there were a couple of moments where I'm like, you're getting in the way of your own movie. But
Yeah. Well, I really disagree. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I mean, it worked for me. I did pick up on the comparisons to today, but just like seeing it all laid out there at the end, it worked for me. But
cool.
I respect your opinion as well. And I ranked this at number 49 for the year.
Okay, good. Okay, then we had Madeline's Madeline. This is something I've really been wanting to see, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. I've heard really good things. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean this is an interesting one. For any of you who have not seen the trailer, you should go look up the trailer because it's like, what's going on? Like the trailer doesn't make much sense to me. At least
Uh,
the one that I had been seeing in the theater, it gave away no plot. It's just a lot of singing and tearaways and people dressed like cats and prancing around like cats. Um, this is definitely like an art house movie, like to the T. It's one of those movies that really, really. I don't want to say they try hard to kind of be unique and out there with like delivery and everything. It's hard to describe without to somebody who hasn't seen the movie. I
uh-huh.
tried to describe the whole movie to one of my friends, and they're like, "I don't get it." I'm like, "Well, I don't know if I get it entirely either." It was an enjoyable experience. It left me a little confused at parts. Um, so I would say it's another one that's well made. It may not be like a movie that you'd be rushing out to see a second time, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out once if you don't mind this type of movie. So,
Yeah,
um, but I put it at 101 for the year based on personal preference. So.
cool. Good. All right, and then Slender Man. I heard this was super bad. What do you think?
Oh, it was amazing, amazingly awful. Yeah, I didn't think it looked good based on the trailers. I have kind of high standards for horror, and I get disappointed so often. Luckily, this didn't disappoint because I did not have high standards for it. It was probably the most boring movie I've seen this year. Um, it wasn't scary. It didn't leave an impression. Like if you asked me to tell you what I watched back in August, it would be such a chore for me because it didn't leave an impact on me.
Hmm.
It was a
Well,
waste
I
of
heard it was
money.
really badly made too. Like the
It,
shots were terrible and stuff like
yeah, I don't think there's anything redeeming about it. I don't. Um, yeah, nothing good about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least with something like Winchester, there's some cool atmosphere and it's like
Mhm.
decently made. It was just kind of boring, but this sounds even worse than that.
Yeah, it's all around bad. I put it at 161, so only three movies I liked less
Yeah.
than this year.
Next, we have Summer of '84, and this is definitely trying to piggyback onto the Stranger Things momentum for sure. But I thought it was pretty well executed for that. Like, it's not the most original movie in the world, but I thought that the kids, it's about these kids that are begin to suspect that their neighbor is a serial killer, and I liked it. I thought the kids felt pretty good, pretty real, pretty good. I thought it had some good tense moments, and there's one pretty brutal killing. I mean, there's a number, but one particular slits this throat. That was pretty brutal, but overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. What did you think?
Yeah, this is a movie I checked out because you actually recommended it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get the Stranger Things comparison pretty quickly, which I kind of find that series to be overrated. Um, yeah, it felt like it was piggybacking off of that a bit. I mean, it it was it was not bad. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I don't think it really had many surprises for me. It kind of went down the route I would have expected it to, and it's almost at the point where if you go the route I expect you to go down, then I don't expect that, you know? So does that
Yeah, it
make any
wasn't the
sense?
yeah, it wasn't the most original movie ever made
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
But overall, I still thought it was charming, and I liked it. Uh,
Yeah.
so I have it at 46 in my
Okay.
yeah.
I put it at where is this? 113. So it's
Oh,
not awful, but I didn't love it.
okay. So then we have the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, and it's a little bit hard to decide which Netflix movies count and which ones don't count because some of them are TV movies and some of them feel like feature films. So it's a little bit tough, but I wanted to include this because I really liked it. I loved the book. I thought it was really charming, and it was a big a couple of years ago. It was a big like book club book. You know, a lot of book clubs are reading it. I read it in a book club, and I loved it. And so they do make some changes off of the book, but I just really liked it. It has tons of heart. It's basically because Guernsey is this island in England, in Great Britain, and it was actually occupied by the Nazis for a number of years. And so they start these people as a form of resistance. This is not even though things like this happen, this is fiction. But they start this book club as a way of kind of gathering and like I said, sort of a resistance thing. But they actually are reading books and stuff. And uh, and so this woman played by Lily James is a writer reporter, and she finds out about Guernsey, and she goes over there. Even though she's engaged, she ends up meeting all the people from the club, and it's called the Potato Peel Pie Societies because that was sort of that was their kind of cover, I guess, for the book club. And anyway, the lead guy, Michael Huisman, plays Dossie, was really dreamy, and I was in love with him. And Glenn Powell plays her fiance, and he's really great. Jessica Brown Findlay from Downton Abbey is in it, and she's great. And I just loved it. Like a hot cocoa movie. It's so comforting and sweet and romantic, and has brings the feels. It's number 10 for me. I loved it. So it just hits all the right buttons for me and things I like. So anyway, then we had on the 10th, we have the Meg. And for me, the Meg was mega disappointing. I thought it was very lame. I didn't think that it was tense. I didn't think it was campy really at all. Like the trailers made you believe that it was going to have all these I thought it like it was going to have all these one-liners and stuff, but I thought it took itself totally seriously, and so you couldn't enjoy it on a campy level. And so there were a couple moments for the most part, and I just thought it was really boring. I really didn't like it. I didn't think that they let Jason Statham have very much fun, and it was kind of similar to me as the Geostorm, which took itself really seriously when it should have just been campy and kind of over the top. And I actually really genuinely loved 47 Meters Down. I thought that movie really, it got me the tension, and it showed the shark so well. And I love shark movies, so I should have loved this, but I didn't. And so I have the Meg at 109. So
Okay.
I was really disappointed by it.
Yeah, I think you actually hit the nail on the head with everything you've said. It was a disappointment. I was kind of looking forward to this because I thought it would be campy and humorous, and it just really wasn't. And it was like the people that would die, like you could see it coming from a mile away. And like I'm gonna maybe a little bit of spoiler here, but these movies that put like this safety bubble around women, like the women in this movie were untouchable by the shark,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of ridiculous.
And not even,
Even
and for a Meg, like not very many characters that are named characters even died.
right,
Like there
yeah,
were,
and
yeah,
I agree. Even like the scene that I was kind of looking forward to was seeing the Meg on that super active beach. But really, for the most part, people got bumped around. I mean, a few people died, I'm sure, but like honestly, I wanted some like cheesy gore in this, but it was so tame and it wasn't
yeah,
funny, and it was just yeah, a mega disappointment.
yeah. Where do you have it ranked?
I have this at 115.
Yeah, fair. Very good. Okay, then we had Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, we're finally past 2 weekends.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, Crazy Rich
Wow.
Asians. I love my romantic comedies, and I thought this was so well executed. I had read the book, and I enjoyed the book. They do make some changes, but nothing that bothered me too much. The biggest changes is there's a little bit more time spent on the mother story and her and that kind of miscommunication thing, and also the her mother, what I'm saying. And then there's also in the book more about the cousin and the the, the separation and whatever, the cousin drama. But
Spoilers. Just
I
kidding.
I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really funny. I thought the character motivations actually made a lot of sense. Like the his mother isn't just like a total, heartless Scrooge person. Like from her perspective and her life experience, her choices make sense. Like you might not agree with them, but like they're logical for what she has experienced and how she was treated by the family and why she would be nervous about this woman who is from America and from a different background, why she would be nervous about this. And I thought the ending when when the mahjong game scene makes sense, why that would have finally kind of won her over to a passing sort of approval, makes sense to me. And I thought that Henry Golding, oh my gosh, I was in love with him. He was so handsome, so great. I thought all the casting was spot on. I thought Aquafina was hilarious, the best I've ever seen her, and I just really loved this movie. It's a movie that I plan on rewatching a lot because I just thought it was funny. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was romantic. I really dug it. So, what do
Yeah,
you think?
I actually agree with everything you're saying on this as well. This is my favorite movie so far that we've discussed,
Oh,
and I went and saw it twice because I liked it so much. My big worry going into it was that um, like it had been what 20, 25 years since we had a full Asian cast like this,
yeah,
and this has had so much hype. And my worry was, are we gonna are we gonna judge us on the same standard as every other movie,
yeah,
or are we gonna grade it on a curve because it being kind of groundbreaking with its cast?
right,
And honestly, I don't think people are grading it on a curve at all. Like, regardless of the casting, it's just a very good movie.
yeah,
Um, and it's something that we don't get as much these days, like as far as romantic comedies go.
yeah,
It checked all the boxes. It was even creative in a lot of ways. It
hmm,
had heart behind it. I just really enjoyed it. It
yeah.
made me smile a lot, made me laugh a lot. So I can't wait for the sequels.
I know, me too. I haven't had time, but I want to read them, and I'm really looking forward to that. And Henry Golding, right? Oh my gosh, he I
Yeah, I mean, honestly, The cast in general was beautiful. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, I
gorgeous.
can't
Yeah,
believe they
that's
got
right.
so many beautiful people in one movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Idris Elba won the most sexiest man alive, which he deserves it. He is dreamy, but I don't know. I was kind of hoping that Henry Golding would win, but man, oh, love
Maybe
it.
next year.
Maybe next year. Yeah, so I have it at number 4, and it was nice to see John Chu, who did, I think, a better than recognized job with his Step Up movies. I'm back on track after Gem and the Holograms because I hated that movie so much.
Okay.
Good job, John.
Yeah, I have it at 26. By the way.
I have it at 4. Like, if we're
Okay,
just talking about my
that's really
favorite
good.
movies and movies I'll watch again
Yeah.
and again and again, so it's number 4 for me. Okay, then we had Alpha on the 17th, and what a surprise! This is probably the biggest surprise for me of the year. It looked awful. I was expecting it to be awful. It got delayed a number of times, but it I thought it was really good. I thought not only did it look really good and have really beautiful cinematography, really good, but I found Cody Smith McPhee's performance to be excellent, and I kind of joked this is like the YA version of The Revenant, but actually about a nice person. I mean he's pretty much the only real character in the whole movie, and I found him compelling. I found it tense, emotional. Um, I was shocked at how much I ended up liking it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it too. I kind of expected to like it, so I think
Okay. So you didn't have that
expectations are
surprise.
key. Right. So yeah, I had been more hyped about it. Well, at least based on the original trailers and the newer trailers that had come out, I thought, okay, it looks like it could be cheesy, and it really wasn't that cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
They it was a little brutal at times,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was good. The only problem for me is that um, after a couple months have passed, or 3 months basically now, it's kind of faded in my rankings a bit,
Mm-hmm.
just because it hasn't left that lasting impression that I really liked for movies to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest drawback for me, is that it hasn't stuck with me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I see that. So I ended up having it at 36.
Okay, I have it at 89.
Okay. So then we have Blaze. I don't even think I've heard of that. What is Blaze?
Oh, Blaze is actually a biopic about a country singer who never was famous, which is kind of an interesting route to go. Um,
Hmm.
and it's directed by oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. He's in Juliet Naked. He's the famous guy.
Oh, the Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, yes. I don't know why I forgot his name. Yeah, this movie was directed by him.
Oh.
So I'd heard a lot of good things about it. Watching the trailer, it didn't look that interesting to me, but I figured since it had gotten such good reviews, I would check it out anyways.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I was actually not too impressed. I mean, it's it's a movie that's about an unspectacular singer with a pretty unspectacular life and career. His songs aren't that interesting to me. Maybe I'm just biased because I'm not a big country music fan, but I just I didn't love the character. I didn't. There wasn't really much for me to like. I mean, the most interesting part about it. This isn't a spoiler. They talk about it pretty immediate in the movie. The guy dies, like he's
Uh-huh.
murdered, and the scene where he gets murdered was by far the most interesting part of the movie. The rest, it was just kind of like biding your time to get to something interesting.
Mm. And then you said it's
Um,
documentary?
it's not a documentary. It's a
Oh,
yeah, it's an actual movie
okay.
with actors. Um, so sure, technically, yeah. I mean, maybe it's good. Maybe I'm just thinking that because other critics like it, but I didn't really love it.
So,
um,
so where do you have it ranked?
I have it at 153, so this is pretty low for
Oh,
me.
okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. All right. So then we had Minding the Gap, and this movie is now available on Hulu if you haven't had a chance to see it. It's a really great documentary that I saw at Sundance. And called a participatory documentary. So basically, like this guy decided when he was really young to start filming his friends. There were all these skateboard there's three guys that you see them from the time they're little to all the way through to them becoming adults, and skateboarding is kind of the thread, but it's not really a skateboarding movie that much. It's a movie about how all three of these boys are affected by domestic violence. That happens to their mothers, and how that shapes them as men. So there's this surprising thread throughout the film that I wasn't anticipating, and you have interviews in some cases with their mothers, and it's just really fascinating to see the different paths that these three boys end up taking, and it's really good. I liked it a ton. I thought it was moving, and it was just a really engrossing documentary, in my opinion. I have it at number 17, and I think it's totally worth checking if you have Hulu. So,
I may have to do that.
yeah, I really liked it. So then on the 17th is The Wife. I haven't had a chance to see this one.
Yeah, The Wife is a movie that I'd heard a little bit about. Um, and yeah, it was a pretty cool premise. It's kind of a slow build, but and there's certain layers that get peeled away throughout this movie, and I guess I should describe it a little bit. Basically, it's about a man who is called up, and he finds out he's going to be um, winning the Nobel Prize for Literature. His wife, who's there supporting him, and just kind of layers to their relationship, their history, their relationship with their kid. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I think there's some really powerful moments near the end of the film that will definitely be enough uh, to bring this some Oscar attention.
Yeah, I know people talked about Glenn Close.
Right.
Yeah, again, some. So where'd you have it ranked?
I have this at 62 for the year.
Okay, good. Then we had To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and this is a Netflix movie, but it got so much buzz, so we definitely wanted to include it. So this is perfectly harmless, sweet little movie. I think it was fine, but I think it's been a little overhyped for me. It's perfectly like I said, perfectly harmless, fun little movie. But I think it kind of got lucky and sort of rode the wave of the Crazy Rich Asians. I think that Lara Jean, the actress playing Lara Jean, is super sweet and good. She does a good job. But is it one of the great high school movies of all time? Like I've heard it praised. Not at all to me. I think that's weird because like to me the a really like a movie when you're talking about something that's one of the best of all time, like I think the not just one character needs to be a dynamic character. You need to see growth from lots of different characters. And like to me a movie like Clueless is one of the greats of this genre because it's not just Cher isn't the only one that gets comedic things, and she's not the only one that gets growth in the story. You have obviously Ty that gets growth and changes. You have and then Josh, like he's not just sort of a puppet for Cher, like that's like he has ideas and personality and things that he wants to accomplish, and they have friction that adds to the tension. I thought that both of the male characters in this movie were pretty flat and were just sort of there for whatever she wanted to do and whatever was her idea. And And I thought the change they made from the book with her sister sending these letters out as some kind of like as some kind of getting Lara Jean out of her shell and as like a positive thing, that was really stupid. I didn't like that. Where she does it out of like out of anger in the book, which makes way more sense. And so it's perfectly harmless and fine, but I don't think it's as great as people are saying. So I have it at 66.
Oh wow. Okay. I think one of the best indicators of how well I like a movie is if I'm invested in the characters, and I actually did feel invested in the main character and her dilemma, her decision. And it's even hard to call it a decision, but um, I was rooting for her to be with both of these guys, which is strange. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't call it an all-time great for this genre, but it was definitely enjoyable for me. It kept my interest, so I liked it. I think more than you. I ranked it at 41 for the year.
Yeah. I just feel like it, I don't know. I'm probably need to be a little more separated from the hyperbole, I guess, a little bit from it. That definitely affected my opinion
Okay.
because I was expecting it to be amazing from what people had said, and I just thought it was fine. So I don't know. Then on the 22nd, there is a very small anime film called The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. And I was very skeptical going into it because I really didn't like the same director's film called Lou Over the Wall that I saw at Sundance. I thought it was exhausting. And this director can be very exhausting. And this movie is bonkers. It's crazy. It's basically about this girl in college that goes on this bender all night, whatever. And a lot of it is just her like drinking a lot, but like it's actually pretty sweet and it's visually beautiful. I loved the animation in this, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's somehow this kind of chaos but executed in a way that I liked because it was still kind of sweet and funny, and there's a whole like musical sequence where it turns into being a musical. I liked that. Overall, I know I just found it because I found it executed this kind of sort of chaos and surrealism in a way that really worked for me. At number 16, I really enjoyed it. So
Okay.
if you're up for a different kind of surrealist type animated film, you should check it out. It was really good. And it wasn't too long. So I feel like surrealist movies, you need to keep them to a manageable length because then it just becomes exhausting. Then on the 24th, there was a documentary called Crime and Punishment. And I saw this at Sundance. And this is the kind of movie that I feel really bad about criticizing because it's obviously a very important issue and it's very important to be informed. And so I applaud it on that level, and I would never discourage anyone from seeing it. But to be honest, I didn't think they packaged this interesting material in a very appealing way. I mean, it could be that I was just super tired because I, saw 18 movies at Sundance, but I just found it very dull and I kept falling asleep. And the lady next to me was very mad at me, which I get it. She probably should have been mad at me. But she was just like, and I don't know, I just found it dragged. And I would rather just read an article about this topic and learn about it than watch this movie. It was very long and I just didn't love it. So it's an 85, but like I said, I would never discourage anyone from seeing it because I think it is important. But I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it. So that's my struggle, I guess, with this one.
That's fair. I think part of the issue is that it's been such a strong year for documentaries.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, and I think this pales in comparison to quite a few.
Yeah.
It was, for me, it was powerful in moments.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain storylines that were more interesting than others. Particularly, I was most invested in this 16-year-old boy who had been falsely accused of shooting somebody.
Yeah.
So I was very interested in that storyline. Some of the other storylines, while they're important, were not very cinematic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was eye opening in certain parts. Um, so I think it's important, but maybe just not the most entertaining movie I've seen this year. So I put this at 112.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It's just for me. It was like one of those ones that I'm like, I feel bad that I didn't like it, but I didn't. So then we have Support the Girls, and this is a movie starring Regina Hall. She runs this sports club, I guess, the kind of Hooters like sports club, and and you get to see sort of a day in her life, and she's trying to help these girls, these women who work for her. And I had heard really high praise from this. My friend Conrado loved it and thought it was the greatest thing to ever exist. And I don't know, like I can handle a fly in the wall kind of movie. The that I love Richard Linklater, and I think if Richard Linklater had made this movie, it would have been much better. Because I think that he just knows how to write dialogue, and how he just knows how to execute this kind of movie, in my opinion. But in this, I was disappointed. I just didn't feel like it was compel. There were compelling moments, and there were moments that were funny, and it's pretty well acted. But overall, it just didn't have enough story to me, and I didn't think the dialogue on its own was that compelling. So I have it at 82 for me.
Okay. Yeah, this is. I'm gonna blame Conrado for this as well because I watched it because you told me he liked it before you had seen it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it. I guess my problem was that I went into it expecting a comedy, and I'm
Oh,
gonna just have to get past the fact that Regina Hall, she's not the old Regina Hall. She's a new Regina Hall, so I can't expect her to be in the same type of movies or be the same type of characters that she used to be.
was she in
With
like
that said,
Tyler Perry comedies or something like that?
she was mainly known for being in the Scary Movie franchise
Okay.
a while back, and her character was very over the top and hilarious, Brenda.
Yeah.
But so I, there, it's hard to pinpoint anything necessarily wrong with this movie. I thought it had a good message. Um, I just wasn't as entertained as I had hoped to be. Um,
Yeah.
but it was a decent like day in the life movie. So I put this at 103 for the year.
Okay. Yeah. It's too bad. Okay.
Mhm.
24th we had the Happy Time Murders. This is the Foul Muppets movie.
Mhm.
What did you think? It's not officially a Muppets movie, but yeah,
Yeah, right.
Muppet movie.
It does involve Jim Henson's son, I believe. Um, but yeah, this was actually a movie that I was kind of worried about once I started seeing reviews come out. Um, and I had thought the trailers looked so good and so funny, so I went into it like, is it gonna be not that good? But
Uh-huh.
I actually liked it quite a bit. I mean, I laughed throughout the whole movie. There are some pretty hilarious things they do with puppets and prostitute puppets and just things that are definitely not kid friendly. And it worked for me, like the whole shtick, I guess. And I would say it's definitely one of my favorite Melissa McCarthy movies I've seen recently. So I don't always agree with the critics, and this is one where I think they missed the mark because it was pretty funny. Um,
Cool. Where'd you have it
yeah,
ranked?
I put this at 34 for the year.
Oh, pretty high. Huh.
Yeah.
Cool. And then What Keeps You Alive? I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, What Keeps You Alive was kind of a movie that slipped under the radar. I saw an article on Entertainment Weekly um, about it, so that's what made me interested in it. It's about a lesbian couple who goes off for like a weekend in a cabin in the woods, and the lead actress in it, she quickly learns that her wife is not the person she thought it was. Um, it it's similar to another movie I've seen this year called Revenge, which I didn't
Oh yeah,
particularly enjoy.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so this is like it's the horror revenge movie, basically. And there's something I've noticed in movies, including this and Alpha and Revenge and even Smallfoot. Something about 2018 movies, we're supposed to believe that people can fall over a pretty large cliff and not die. I'm seeing that a lot in movies.
At least
Uh,
with Alpha, it's like there's he
a-
lands on that ledge,
but it's still
and
pretty far down.
he is pretty badly injured.
Right.
So
Mhm.
that was a little more forgivable, but yeah, that is it's so funny these weird tropes that ended up happening.
Yeah, it is. They like come in trends, but that's something that was in this movie. Yeah, this was pretty entertaining. You definitely root for the main character. It's kind of gruesome in parts. Probably not a movie I'd recommend to you, but if you like horror
Uh huh.
movies, I would say this is a pretty good one, at least compared to the average horror movie today. So I put this at 71 for the year.
Okay, good. Then 29th, there was Operation Finale.
Yeah. You didn't see this one, I take
I
it?
didn't get to see it. I just it was I just ran out of time for this one.
Okay.
Even though I was actually looking forward to it, but then it got kind of lukewarm reviews, and so I didn't have a chance to see it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is a pretty incredible story that I hadn't heard about. I mean, it involves one of Hitler's right-hand men, the only one who had escaped um, from being tried after World War II. But people find out that he may be in South America. So it's basically about an operation to go find this guy and take him out of the country, bring him back to I think they wanted to try him in Jerusalem, but it's just about the odds being stacked against them trying to get this guy out so they can take him to trial. And you don't even know what to think about him. I mean, it's Ben Kingsley. He's got some charm to him, so you don't know whether you should like him or not. You don't know if he really is who they think he is. Um, the movie I would compare this most to is Argo, which I loved Argo.
Uh huh.
Uh, it gave me pretty strong Argo vibes, plot wise. Quality wise, it's not close to Argo. It's not a bad movie by any means. It entertained me. Um, but it's nothing groundbreaking. I
Uh-huh.
think its biggest strength is this story that somehow has gone this long without being captured in film.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I put this 88 for the year.
Okay. If you want to see a animated version of this story, I there was a short at Sundance that I saw called "The Driver is Red," and it was very very good. I liked it a lot. So
Okay.
people should check
Same
it out.
story?
Same story, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So then we had Bloodfest.
hmm
You were looking forward to this one, as I recall.
Well, I was looking forward to a different movie, which is interesting because we were just talking about movies that there are tropes that happen like at the same time.
Oh, that's
So
right.
this
It was Hellfest was the one
exactly.
that we were looking forward to.
This year there are three movies about like horror amusement park festivals where somebody starts killing people. We had Bloodfest, Hellfest, and American Fright Fest.
These
Um,
festivals are very,
I
very
know,
shady.
yeah, they're
Very
really
shady.
scary this year.
That's
But
really
yeah, Hellfest I didn't really know much about. I just saw that my
funny.
Alamo Draft
Bloodfest.
House. So, yeah, Bloodfest.
Yeah.
my one of my theaters was playing it just for the week that
Uh-huh.
it came out. I didn't know anything about it, didn't look up a trailer. I'm like, I'm just gonna go see this. So I got a few friends together and we went and saw this. Um, it felt pretty low budget. Like it it definitely doesn't have the visual quality of a studio with much money backing it. But it was a lot of fun. Like it's very over the top. Basically, this person in charge of Bloodfest somehow manages to make all these people start killing other people. So it's not just one person. It's like a whole amusement park of murderers. Some of them are like vampires. Some of them are like zombies. It was so over the top and it was funny. There's some good cameos in there. I really enjoyed it. Like it was a lot of fun. It's not a great film, but it definitely had the camp that I've been missing in certain other movies this year. So yeah, I put it at number 67 for the year.
Okay, good. Then we had Destination Wedding. And one thing about loving a genre is that when it's done badly, am I call it. And I was actually really excited about this movie. I thought the trailer looked really funny and really good. And I hated this movie. I thought it was awful. I hated the characters. They were awful. I thought it was there were surprisingly very little chemistry between the two of them. I didn't think that the script worked really at all, and it has one of the worst and least sexy sex scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Terrible, and I thought it was terrible. I hated it.
Yeah, and see, when we previewed this movie, I said, I'm afraid that it's just going to be them bickering the whole time and it's going to be really annoying. And I
Yeah,
was right.
yeah,
The bickering got old quick. It never ended. Even in intimate moments, there would be bickering going on.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think for me, I had pretty low expectations already, so like I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't like it. Um, and I didn't like the dialogue, especially like
Oh,
it felt so unnatural how they would talk to each other. Especially Keanu Reeves, it felt like he was reading a script every time he talked.
yeah. Terrible script. Like this is the kind of story that I think that Woody Allen could have made fun
Hmm.
in or interesting at least in his heyday, whereas this was just miserable. I just was miserable watching it. I hated it so much, and I have it at 120. So
Okay, I have it 137.
yeah, it deserves it. It was so disappointing to me, but anyway, there you go. Then we had Kin. So you went to see the boy and robot dog store.
That's actually Axel or AXL.
Okay. This one is
I know.
not a robot.
I get them kind of mixed up too. This is the boy who has the like gun that
Oh
it's
yeah,
like an
yeah,
alien
yeah.
gun. Yeah. Um yeah, I saw this. Um gosh, where do I begin? So can you tell me what would you expect from this movie? What do you think like the
Oh
feel
god.
for it would be?
Oh god. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think. It would be maybe like Summer of '84, but way worse. Kind of
Well, I mean,
like trying to play off nostalgia a little bit and be terrible.
yeah, no, it didn't really go down to the nostalgia path, but I
Okay.
guess what I was expecting it to be is like kind of a family movie about these brothers, one's adopted, and just having a lot of heart and humor to it. And
Uh,
really it was a movie that took itself way too seriously. Humor was nowhere to be found in this.
yeah.
They didn't try. It was a pretty like dour mood throughout the entire movie, which there's reasons that it would be. But when you have this kind of over the top, ridiculous plot, a guy who finds this alien gun, which
Right.
really, that was such a side part to the plot. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, I don't even know why they had that gun be part of it. It was really about the older brother having he owes $60,000 to some people, and it's about them trying to track him down the whole time. So the gun had very little to do with it, but I don't know. I just expected it not to take itself so seriously, but it took itself way too seriously and had almost no payoff.
Yeah.
So I put this really low. It's 159 for the year for me.
And you had 162, right?
164. So
164.
it's bottom
Yeah.
six.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Then Pick of the Litter, which I have been wanting to see because it looked adorable. And I really liked Ketty last year
Mhm.
about the cats. And so I thought this looked cute. What did you think?
I yeah, so I actually was kind of disappointed with Ketty last year because I love cats, so I thought I would love it. But this movie I wasn't disappointed with. It's about basically five sibling puppies that are training to become seeing eye dogs. And
Uh-huh.
apparently it's a very difficult process, and most dogs get weeded out in the process. So it's almost like you and I like Survivor, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is basically Survivor for these puppies. You get to see them for the first year and a half to 2 years of their life training, and they get weeded out. Like they tell us at the beginning, probably only one of these dogs is going to make it in the end. So you get to see which ones can make the cut. And as you go along, you start to think, oh, this dog, it's definitely going to make it. It's so well behaved. This dog, no, it's got too many issues. It's not going to do it. So you get really invested in these dogs. They become like very three-dimensional characters. So it definitely grabbed my attention. I mean, service dogs, they're something I've learned a lot
Uh-huh.
recently. So I think that added to my intrigue for this movie. But yeah, it was a lot more entertaining than I thought it would be. The bar is kind of high for me as far as like favorite movies go, so I probably will never watch it again. But I would
Uh-huh.
definitely recommend it for at least one viewing for most of you out there.
Cool.
So I put this at 86 for the year.
Oh, good. Okay, then we had Searching, and this is something I saw at Sundance, and I haven't had a chance to see it again, but I really enjoyed it, and I wasn't sure. I want to see it again because I wasn't sure if part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much at Sundance was because it was the last movie I saw after seeing 18 really heady movies for the most part. Sundance type movies, and this was a little bit different. And I it's definitely a gimmick, but I haven't seen Unfriended, so I haven't seen this
Mhm.
gimmick before. And I thought that that it was pretty effective in the reveals, and it was just a fun little thriller. And John Cho I thought was really good. I thought some of the red herrings were pretty effective, and overall, I enjoyed it. What
Yeah,
about
I
you?
did too. Yeah. So a good sign is always when I'm willing to go see a movie more than once. And I saw this movie twice to see if
Uh-huh.
there was anything I missed out on the first time, any clues. But yeah, this is a movie where you get pretty invested quickly. I know there were times where I'm like, oh, I'm 100% this person is behind the girl being missing. And I was wrong, of course. Um, but yeah, there are clues that I did pick up on. There's like words here that I'm like, oh, look at that word right there.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I did like Unfriended, and I believe this is from the same creator.
Oh,
And he has plans to create a lot more movies like this.
that
Um,
makes me nervous. I feel like
yeah, me
it's
too.
the gimmick. I don't know. I think it's a gimmick that could get old real quick.
Hmm.
We'll see. But yeah, it worked for this one, I
It
think.
did. Yeah, it worked for this. It worked for the first Unfriended for me.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. I thought the casting was really good. Yeah, nothing to complain about. I put this at 37 for the year.
Yeah, I have it at 35, so we're
Okay.
both on the same page with that. So then we had The Little Stranger, which I actually thought the trailer was pretty good. I haven't had a chance to see it, but what do you think?
Yeah, so if you hadn't seen the trailer and you went into this, it becomes a movie you wouldn't expect it to be. So it looks like a ghost movie based on the trailer.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, it takes an hour and a half for that even to come up at all. It's very slow. I didn't really like the female lead. I don't remember her name. So this was pretty disappointing. It wasn't scary.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't think there's much redeeming about this. I guess it has a cool tone to it, and I do like Donald Gleason quite a bit. But yeah, I put this at 140 for the year.
Okay. That's too bad. I was hoping it might be kind of like
Mhm.
The Others or something like that with some real
Yeah,
atmosphere and
not as good, but the atmosphere is pretty much one of the only decent things about it, and even that was lacking a bit.
interesting. Okay, so we're going to divide this up into two parts because we just have so much. We just got through August, and August was by far the biggest month.
There was one movie we missed, though.
Oh, that neither of us saw.
No, there was a movie that we did not talk about yet that both of us saw, and
Um,
that came out on August 31st as well. That's Juliet Naked.
oh, that's so weird that I skipped that one. I was so mad about Destination Wedding. I skipped it. Yeah. So Juliet Naked. Yeah. So this movie, I didn't really know what to expect, and I thought, oh, this is going to be super sleazy with this name, Juliet Naked, and it's not it really at all. Like, there's a little bit of sensuality, but very little actually, and it's just the name of this album. And this movie, first of all, it's super relevant of like how we obsess about, about people and current sort of obsessions, and but it's based on a book by Nick Hornby, who I immediately went out and bought the book because I love Nick Hornby and I love his screenplays, movies, and books, whatever. He's amazing, and it's about this rock star who put out like two albums, and this one, Julia Naked, that and then he dropped off the face of the earth. Everybody is speculating, and the Chris O'Dowd character, he is just obsessed with it, but he like it's also sort of his community and his group, and he leads all these discussion groups and chat rooms and stuff like that. Where is he? What do you think about this music, this song, whatever? And so it's really his social life, which of course is somebody who podcasts and uh and and has a YouTube channel and stuff. I totally get that. I thought, and Rose Byrne plays his long-suffering girlfriend, and I loved this movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was insightful, super well acted. The script was great. I liked the fact that she had sort of given up without really thinking it through. It had given up having kids, and how she was at the spot where she was regretting it. And then the contrast when she meets the Ethan Hawke character, that he had sort of more kids than he intended to, but he has like a pretty sweet relationship between all of these kids. Like, there's resentment, there's of him not being a very good dad, but also like, I don't know, there was still a sweetness managed to get for me. And so that's an interesting dynamic that they have between the two of them. And I just thought it was great. I loved it. I have it at 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I mean, oftentimes I'm kind of nervous about movies that may glamorize somebody leaving their person for
Oh,
another
yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So I was kind of worried about that. But in this case, like I had no problems with that at all. I was actively rooting for that the whole time.
Well, and he leaves her first, so
True,
it's less
true. So
problematic.
it wasn't as cut and dry as I thought it would be.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got a lot of charm to it. I really liked Ethan Hawke in it. Rose Byrne's great always. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to like about it. I put this at 59 for the year
Uh,
though.
when they're having that meal, and he's the Ethan Hawke character is kind of being sort of dismissive about his fans, and that the song didn't really mean anything, like what whatever, and I really just thought it was actually really powerful when Chris O'Dowd's character is like, you don't understand, like it meant a lot to me.
Right.
And I thought that was really, really,
Yeah.
really great. I don't know.
Hmm.
I thought it was really. There's characters that in lesser hands would be very very grating and very unlikable. But I thought it worked. I'm like, oh man, and that's a trait of Nick Hornby, his characters, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Fever Pitch, which is also based on Nick Hornby, which is all about obsession and how the one character is a workaholic, the other character is obsessed with the Red Sox, and uh, which is another movie that I really enjoy. So anyway, it was a winner. So yeah, so we will cover the next the next group in the next episode, and that should be really fun. So David, how can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm the David Healy. And you can also find both of us on Facebook in our Film Freaks group. It's facebook.com/Film Freaks group.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media and on iTunes and YouTube. So definitely check that out. And if you put in your reviews on iTunes, we really appreciate it. So thanks so much. And we'll talk again soon.